question number 10 on Schoology. We're going to need to do some typing in on Desmos. I highly encourage you to practice this with me. It says the scatter plot shows the number of CDs in millions that were sold from 1999 to 2005. And so those dates are down here at the bottom of our graph on our x-axis, because we have Dr. XY needs his ID to go in and out all the time. So here we see an example of time being our x-axis. The first question says, write the slope-intercept form of an equation for the line of best fit where x equals 1 for the year. So what we could do is we could take our pencil or our pen or a piece of spaghetti or something like that, and we could draw our line of best fit in where we think that it goes closest to all of those points. And we can maybe do something by hand, but we would be more exact using our technology. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my technology. Now right now I don't have numbers. I just have a whole bunch of dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these lovely dots and we are going to make an XY chart. We're going to make a chart. Now in this question it says X is 1 for the year 1999. So instead of 1999, I'm going to call this spot 1. Because that's what it said over there. It wants me to say x equals 1 for that spot. So this is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm going to put that in my t-chart. And now we need to go and find numbers that are the y values for these. So when I had my x value is 1, my y value is right there. And that's going to be about 940. So we would think about separating these from a 900 to a 950 every time I go up a box. That's 50. So maybe it goes like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that's where I was getting that 40 from. Your numbers don't have to be exact when we do line of best fit, but we need to be accurate as we can be. All right, the next dot right here, that one was maybe about 945. Going to our next dot down here, where it's 3, maybe that one's at like 880. Changing colors so that you can kind of track where these go if you want to pause it and see. Maybe for 4 we have like 805, and then the next one we have maybe down here maybe 745, and then moving on we have maybe 760. And you can do this on your own as well. You could pause and see if you agree with these numbers. If you want to do something slightly different, you can. But this is where the answers are going to come from. The next one's a table, so you don't have to think about what the numbers are going to be. They're already going to be given to you. So now we need to figure out how to make this an equation. So the best thing to do is going to be to go to Desmos and actually type in the table that we just found. And whenever we want to create a table, we hit the plus sign in the top left corner, we add a table, and I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, and I believe it'll number for me all the way up to, we don't need an 8, we just need a 7, and then I'm going to type in those numbers. And again, you can be doing this with me. The more you practice, the better you get. 880, and then we have 805, and then we have 745, 760, and 705. All right, now I don't see dots. If you hit this magnifying glass with the plus sign, it'll kind of zoom into that space for you. And that looks like what we saw on the picture, which is good, because that means I typed it in right. Now, how do we ask Desmos to do a line for us? Y1 worm is how we ask Desmos to do the line for us. Now, the equation of a line is mx plus b. And this is not giving me a line because I need to look back at my table. This y1 right here is looking at my table up here, y1. But this x right here, whenever it's looking at my table, there's no x, so we're going to put a subscript of 1 on it. And so that is now giving us a line. That's what we want. So these numbers at the very bottom right here tell us our m, our slope, and our b for our y-intercept. And we're going to go find that on our Schoology at the bottom. There are choices that we can choose from, and there it is. There's our answer that we're going to drag into the spot. What is the correlation coefficient? Correlation coefficient. This is what we were talking about on the previous slides, that R value, except I don't think I called it that. This is the R value. So one of the things that we saw on Desmos is down here right above the M and the B in this box 2, maybe, there we go, is it gives me my R value. And so we want the one that just says R equals, and it says negative 0.9657. So it's a negative slope. Do you agree that the red line is a negative slope? Yes. And then the correlation coefficient is going to be 0.967. So let's go see if that matches anything close. And I don't see a negative 0.967, but I do see an answer that if I rounded it, would match. Negative 0.967 rounds to, the 6 looks next door, that 7's big enough to push that 6 up one, and that's where that 7's coming from. That is your correlation coefficient. All right, strong or weak. And you can go back and change some of your other answers on slide 9 if you did not get the right one, because we're about to talk about that. Is negative 0.97 going to be close to a 1 or a negative 1? Yes, that is very close to actually a negative 1. So that's going to be very strong. Okay, the closer we get to a positive 1 or a negative 1, the stronger we are. So on a number line, if it looks like this is very strong over here. 0 is no correlation, and over here strong again. And then kind of close to that 0 would be weak. Right? And then in the middle, you're not ever going to have like a testing situation where you have something that's in the middle. It's going to be obvious close to the negative 1 or the positive 1 for strong, or obviously closer to that 0 for weak. If the trend continues, about how many millions of CDs were sold in 2006? That's not on our list. So this is another section called predicting that you're going to have to do. 2006 would be this next one, right? 2005, 2006. So what number would that be in our table to represent the year 2006? That would be an 8 right here, right? Because we would cross that off and that would be an 8. So we want to know 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do this. Please notice that the 8 is in the X column. All right, so one way we could do this is we could actually go and we can look at our graph. And at the bottom, I'm trying to zoom in, but it's just moving the numbers around, so I don't know if you can see it very well. At the very bottom, now we can see an 8. And you can follow that 8 up until you get a spot on your graph like this. And you can kind of get it close, and you can kind of see by tracing that line, oh, that one looks really good. So right there, you can do that. You can also, if you don't like moving your finger around, because my finger is all in the way, is I can say the X column, okay, I want that number to equal 8. And that'll just kind of put a temporary line there for you so that you can actually tap that dot and you don't have to move and find it. All right, so we're looking for a number that's like our Y value here, 652, and then we have our decimals 857. We would say 652 and 857 thousandths. Now we're probably going to have to round that because I don't seem to recall any answers that look like that. About 652, 652. Let's go look at our choices. I don't see 652, but I see this, and again, this is because we rounded, and it also says approximately. So you want to pick your closest answer. You are going to do that same thing for number 11. Number 11 starts you with a table, so you don't have to do that first step of converting to a table. But you're going to answer the same kinds of questions. Remembering that your R value is your correlation coefficient, and strong values are closer to either a positive 1 or a negative 1.